The first sign that something was wrong wasn't Ethan's disappearance. It was the photograph. 3 months after Ethan Brooks vanished, his best friend Ryan still stared at that image almost every day. A faded roadside motel, a cracked neon sign, a parking lot nearly empty except for a few vehicles. Nothing about the picture looked unusual, yet it was the last thing Ethan ever sent. Attached to the photo was a message. "I found something bad. If anything happens to me, call the police." Ryan never heard from him again. Police investigated. They searched the motel, questioned employees, reviewed guest records. Found nothing. Eventually, the case stalled. To everyone else, Ethan became another missing person. But Ryan couldn't move on. The message made no sense. Why would Ethan send a picture of a random motel before disappearing?
3 months later, Ryan decided to find out for himself. The motel sat alone beside a highway, surrounded by miles of empty land. As soon as he arrived, something felt wrong. Not dangerous, just strange. The parking lot contained more vehicles than expected, yet very few people could actually be seen. The lobby was silent. The woman at the front desk barely spoke. She handed him a key and avoided eye contact. Room 12. Ryan checked in. The room smelled old. The furniture looked untouched for years. Everything seemed normal. Until that night. Around midnight, he noticed a man checking into room 18 across the parking lot. The man appeared to be traveling alone. Ryan remembered him because he carried a bright red suitcase. The next morning, the suitcase was gone. The man's truck remained parked outside, but the room was empty. The bed untouched, no sign he had slept there. Ryan assumed he had left early, until he asked the front desk. The clerk claimed nobody had rented room 18. Ryan knew she was lying. He had watched the man receive a key. That night, he began paying closer attention. At 2 a.m., he heard something beneath his room. A distant metallic sound, almost like a heavy door opening somewhere underground. Then came footsteps, not above him, below him. The noise lasted only a few seconds. Then, silence. The following afternoon, Ryan walked around the property. Behind the laundry building, he discovered something unusual. Fresh tire tracks. They led toward an old storage shed at the edge of the property. The shed appeared abandoned, yet the tracks looked recent. Ryan checked inside. Nothing. Just dust, broken shelves, and one strange thing. The floor contained several scrape marks, as though something heavy was regularly dragged across it. That night, Ryan couldn't sleep. Around 1:30 a.m., he saw movement outside. 3 tall men dressed in dark clothing crossed the parking lot. One worked maintenance. The others appeared to be employees. They disappeared behind the laundry building. Minutes later, Ryan heard the metallic sound again. This time, he followed it, keeping his distance. He watched the men disappear behind a large vending machine beside the laundry room. When they were gone, Ryan approached. The machine wasn't plugged in. It wasn't stocked. It wasn't even turned on. Slowly, he pushed it. The machine rolled aside. Behind it was a hidden metal door. Ryan's heart began racing. He pulled out his flashlight, then opened the door. A staircase descended into darkness. The smell hit him immediately. Rotten, damp, unnatural. He hesitated, then went down. The stairs seemed endless. At the bottom, he found a concrete corridor stretching beneath the motel. The deeper he walked,
the worse the smell became. At first, he found nothing, just empty hallways, water dripping from pipes, concrete walls. Then he noticed scratches, thousands of scratches, covering one section of wall. Some looked like tally marks. Others looked like desperate attempts to claw through concrete. Ryan felt his stomach tighten. Further ahead, he discovered an old suitcase. The lock had been broken. Inside were clothes, a wallet, and a driver's license. The owner's photo stared back at him. Ryan immediately recognized the name. The person had been reported missing years earlier. The realization sent chills through his body. This wasn't a coincidence. Something terrible had happened here. Ryan continued deeper. Another suitcase, another wallet, another identification card, then another. The deeper he went, the more evidence appeared. Eventually, he reached a row of hidden rooms. What he found inside made his blood run cold. Rusted restraints, chains bolted into concrete, stained mattresses, personal belongings scattered everywhere. Dozens of them, maybe hundreds. Ryan pulled out his phone. He began taking photographs. Every room, every piece of evidence, every item he could find. Then he sent the images to a trusted friend, along with a message. If I stop responding, give these to police. Suddenly, he heard voices. Ryan immediately switched off his flashlight. Footsteps echoed through the corridor, fast, approaching. He slipped into a dark storage space and squeezed behind stacks of boxes. The footsteps grew louder. 3 figures emerged, the same tall men from earlier. Ryan held his breath. They were carrying something wrapped in thick plastic, something long, heavy, human-sized. The object sagged in the middle as they moved. For a brief second, part of what looked like a hand slipped from the wrapping. One of the men quickly covered it again. Ryan froze. Every doubt vanished. The motel wasn't hiding a crime. It was hiding many crimes. The men disappeared into another section of tunnels. Ryan waited. 10 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour. Eventually, he tried finding another exit. There wasn't one. The staircase was the only way out, and the men remained somewhere above him. Ryan was trapped. Hours passed. The smell became unbearable. The deeper sections of the tunnels contained standing water and rotting waste. The air felt thick. Every breath became harder than the last. His eyes burned. His head pounded. He knew he couldn't stay hidden forever. Finally, he called 911. The dispatcher answered immediately. Ryan whispered everything. The motel, the tunnels, the evidence, the hidden rooms, the possible bodies. The dispatcher promised officers were on the way. Relief washed over him. Then he heard footsteps, running. The voices were closer this time, much closer. Someone had heard the call. Ryan jumped to his feet and ran through the darkness. The corridor twisted ahead. Another voice echoed from behind. Then another. They were surrounding him. A moment later, a large figure emerged from a side passage. Ryan turned. Another blocked the opposite direction. He was trapped. The men tackled him to the ground. His phone slid across the concrete floor. The motel owner appeared moments later. An older man with calm eyes. Ryan immediately knew who was in charge. The owner picked up the phone, looked at the active call, then smiled. "You've caused a lot of trouble." Ryan begged for help. The owner ignored him. Instead, he handed Ryan the phone. "Call them back." Ryan refused. One of the men punched him across the face. The owner repeated himself. "Tell them you're somewhere else." Blood filled Ryan's mouth. The men tightened their grip. Finally, he made the call. The dispatcher answered. Ryan claimed he had made a mistake. He claimed he was actually investigating an abandoned warehouse several miles away. He apologized for the confusion. The dispatcher sounded uncertain, but the officers changed direction. When the call ended, Ryan looked at the owner. "I did what you wanted." The owner nodded, then quietly replied, "I know." Ryan waited. Nothing happened. Then he understood. The promise had never been real. He was never supposed to leave. Days later, Ryan was reported missing. His family couldn't reach him. His phone remained off. His bank account showed no activity. Friends grew concerned, especially the friend who had received Ryan's photographs. The images immediately reached investigators. Everything changed.
Detectives reopened Ethan's case, then connected it to Ryan's disappearance. They returned to the motel. The owner claimed Ryan checked out normally, but detectives demanded access to security footage. The footage showed Ryan arriving, checking in, walking around the property, entering the laundry area. But there was one problem. He never appeared leaving. Not once. The owner blamed camera failures. Investigators weren't convinced. A search warrant followed. Digital forensic experts recovered deleted footage. The recordings revealed employees moving suspicious covered objects during the night, vehicles arriving after midnight, guests disappearing from camera coverage, evidence stretching back years.
Police shut down the motel immediately. When they finally searched beneath the property, they found the hidden staircase, then the tunnels, then the rooms, then the evidence. Enough evidence to connect the motel to numerous disappearances spanning more than a decade. Multiple arrests followed. The owner, the employees, and the tall men Ryan had seen underground. Yet despite the investigation, one mystery remained. Ryan Carter, the man who exposed everything, the man who went looking for his friend, the man who uncovered the truth. He was never found, and his name was eventually added to the same missing persons list that had first brought him to the motel.